Hey and welcome to the Daily Arsenal News Show. Let's begin with our daily news. Chelsea monitoring Gabriel Martinelli as Arsenal eye a new deal. Chelsea are believed to be monitoring Gabriel Martinelli, with the Daily Mail reporting that the Arsenal youngster is attracting attention from some of the Gunners' top four rivals. Martinelli has been outstanding at the start of the season, scoring 3 times in 8 games in the Premier League. His form has helped Mikel Arteta's side go top of the table, and there is now daylight between themselves, Manchester City, and the rest and the league. But perhaps Arsenal may face a battle to keep Martinelli at the Emirates. The Daily Mail reports that several sides have their eye on Martinelli, including Chelsea. The Blues have apparently been monitoring the youngster in recent months. Arsenal, meanwhile, are hoping to agree a new contract with the forward. The Daily Mail reports Chelsea have already signed a number of impressive youngsters since their new owners came in the summer. And of course, they did sign one of Arsenal's brightest talents. Omari Hutchinson made the move from the Emirates after 7 years in North London. Signing Martinelli, however, is a task on a different level altogether. Right now, it's hard to see why the Brazilian would have any interest in leaving Arsenal whatsoever. The Gunners are top of the Premier League, and while it may be too soon for the club to compete with Manchester City, there is surely no doubt that they are moving in the right direction at a rapid rate. The interest from Chelsea does highlight that they cannot sit still. Martinelli is an incredible talent, and he will want to go to the very top of the game, but it does seem that Arsenal are determined to take him there. Martin Odegaard says Thomas Partey was doing so much shooting practice and training before North London derby. Martin Odegaard has been speaking to Arsenal's official website and says Thomas Partey was doing so much shooting practice and training before the North London derby. The Gunners kept themselves at the top of the Premier League table after a 3-1 win over their bitter rivals Tottenham Hotspur on Saturday. Mikel Arteta's side came out strong and dominated the opening half an hour of the game, and they were rewarded in the 20th minute after Thomas Partey scored with a brilliant long-range effort. The £45 million man found himself with plenty of space on the edge of Spurs area, and Odegaard has revealed that Arsenal practiced all week for this exact situation. Partey received the ball from Ben White after the Gunners were trying to break Spurs down. The 29-year-old did not take a touch before hitting the ball, and it flew past Hugo Lloris and into the top corner. And Odegaard says the Arsenal team knew that Partey would have plenty of space in these types of areas on Saturday. It was a great goal. We knew before the game he was going to be free in those areas, and we practiced that a lot to find him in those areas, and he made a great shot, Odegaard told Arsenal's website. I think he played a great game as well, so a lot of credit to him and of course the team. It's no surprise that Arteta's side knew they would have a spare man in midfield during the game, given Antonio Conte's preferred setup. Spurs have lined up with a two-man midfield of Rodrigo Bentancur and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg throughout the start of the campaign, and due to Arsenal having 3 men in midfield, Spurs were often outnumbered in the middle of the park. Partey put it an excellent display on Saturday and provided a moment of magic in the North London derby. It's clear that Arteta was well aware of the fact that Arsenal would have a spare man in midfield, and they exploited this excellently. Former rival praises current star Gabriel Jesus. Former Manchester United star Gary Neville has confessed his love for Gabriel Jesus, who traded Manchester City for Arsenal this summer. The Gunners made the shrewd move to make the Brazilian their priority signing ahead of the summer transfer window and managed to fend off our rivals in pursuit of his signature. He has taken the change in his stride, scoring more than a goal per game in pre-season before adding 5 goals and 3 assists in his 8 opening league outings. Former United and England defender has now admitted that he adores the striker, claiming that he was a fan even when he played for Manchester City also. Gabriel Jesus has been brilliant and I love him to pieces, Neville told Sky Sports listeners. I loved him when he was here, I love him at Arsenal, but this is a different stratosphere of player, and that's not a criticism of Gabriel Jesus. I think Jesus is the type of player who it's hard to dislike. I think that is telling by him becoming the most picked player at any point in the Fantasy Premier League, but it seems pretty obvious that he has taken us to another level. His mentality, his composure, his consistency. He has so many traits which are rubbing off on his teammates, and it seems crazy to think that he has only played with the vast majority of the team since July. OHara claims Xhaka was made to look like Guti in Arsenal's North London derby win. Jamie OHara has told TalkSport that Tottenham Hotspur were so overrun in midfield during the North London derby that Granit Xhaka was made to look like Guti for Arsenal. Mikel Arteta's man emphatically snatched bragging rights in North London on Saturday. Goals from Thomas Partey, Gabriel Jesus and Xhaka ensured that Arsenal kept themselves top of the Premier League while also inflicting Spurs' first defeat of the campaign upon them. The result looked to be on the cards for some time. Tottenham's only bright spell came between their equaliser and the half-time whistle. Otherwise, Arsenal were dominant. For many, the battle was largely won in the middle of the park. The visitors were obviously expecting to soak up pressure before trying to hit Arsenal on the counter. However, breaking out of their own half was much easier said than done, and no performance summed up the progress. Arsenal have made more than that from Xhaka. The Swiss was superb once again. In fact, OHara compared the Gunners' star with one of the most underrated players from Real Madrid's Galacticos era. He's got to be adaptable sometimes, he told TalkSport when discussing Conte. I know he likes his 3-4-3 Conte, but when you are playing against Arsenal and the way they play in midfield, we got overrun. I mean, we made Xhaka look like Guti. You've got to play 3-5-2 in that game. Wherever Arteta takes Arsenal, Xhaka's comeback from the brink is one of the real success stories from his tenure. Of course, Xhaka has always been a talented player, but it just seemed that he was destined to leave the Gunners as one of the most divisive characters in the club's recent history. And he probably would have done had he gone after Euro 2020. Calciomercato reported at the time that he was incredibly close to joining Roma. Ultimately, he stayed put, and it's surely fair to say that he has never been better for Arsenal. Cesc Fabregas makes a bold claim about William Saliba. Cesc Fabregas has been amazed by the performance of William Saliba in an Arsenal shirt, and he expects the youngster to spend the next 2 decades marshalling the club's defense. Saliba joined the Gunners in 2019, but he has spent the last few seasons out on loan. He impressed in League One last season to convince Mikel Arteta he can do a job. The defender is now a mainstay in the Gunners team, and he has forced Ben White to play as a right back. At 21, Saliba defends like a veteran, and his skill personified. This has earned him a lot of praise. Fabregas watched him show his class in the game against the Spurs and praised him for how he effortlessly gets the job done. The midfielder said via the Daily Mail, "I would like to mention someone who was so good, but no one has mentioned him because he made it look so easy, Saliba. This boy was in France for 3 years and I have watched him very closely. I was tipped off 3 years ago by an Arsenal scout when I was playing Saint-Etienne for Monaco about this boy who they were interested in signing. That night, he was the best player on the pitch. He could be Arsenal's centre-back for the next 15-20 years now." Saliba has been a star for Arsenal this season, and he has proven what a talent he is. There had been suggestions he would leave when he couldn't get into Arteta's team. Selling him could have been one of the worst mistakes we made, and we are being rewarded for sending him out on loan for further development instead. Martin Odegaard now answers if Arsenal can challenge for a Premier League title this season. Martin Odegaard spoke to Viaplay Football after Arsenal's North London derby victory and has now answered if the Gunners can challenge for the Premier League title this season. Arsenal secured a massive 3-1 win over Spurs after goals from Thomas Partey, Gabriel Jesus and Granit Xhaka. The Gunners currently sit top of the Premier League, having won all of their games apart from the loss at Old Trafford. Although it's still early in the season, Mikel Arteta's men look like they could achieve big things this campaign. and Odegaard has now answered if he thinks Arsenal can challenge for the Premier League title this season. Speaking to Viaplay Football, Odegaard was asked, "Is the title coming to Emirates Stadium?" The Arsenal captain responded, "Our feet aren't leaving the ground. There is a lot of season left. There are a couple of other good teams up there as well, so that will be tough. But we'll fight every game as if it's the last one we are playing, and then we'll see how it ends up." The reporter then added, "Have you started practicing lifting the trophy?" Odegaard laughed and responded, No, calm yourself down." The Gunners currently sit 1 point ahead of Manchester City. It's still early days, but Arteta's men certainly look the part and seem to be the closest team to City at the moment. Arsenal's squad depth is still slightly thin in certain positions, but if they can avoid any serious injuries to key players over the course of the season, they will certainly be fighting at the top end of the table. Arteta faces a packed schedule over the next month, with games in the Europa League every Thursday evening. The Spaniard will be hoping his side can continue their brilliant form over the games before the World Cup in Qatar. Arsenal have now looked into Manuel Locatelli move. Arsenal have now looked into whether Manuel Locatelli would be interested in a move, with Calcio Mercato reporting that Juventus would be open to considering an offer for the midfielder. Locatelli has not had the best time since moving to Juve in a deal worth £30.8 million. Of course, he is no stranger to links with Arsenal. The London Evening Standard reported ahead of his move to the Old Lady that the Gunners had actually offered £34 million for the 24-year-old. However, his dream was to play for Juventus, and that seems to have stopped Locatelli from leaving Turin in the summer. Calcio Mercato reports that he rejected the chance to join Manchester United in this past window. Juventus, however, are not completely against the idea of selling Locatelli for a good offer, and with that, Arsenal have made an inquiry to see whether he would now be more open to making the switch to the Emirates. The report does note that no real talks are underway at this stage, but it does seem that there may be scope for a January move if Locatelli is willing to consider his options. Some Arsenal fans may be wary of a deal for Locatelli given his previous reservations, but when he snapped the Gunners, Mikel Arteta's side had just finished 8th in the Premier League. Meanwhile, Juventus could offer Champions League football immediately. Now, however, the situation has flipped. It's Juve who are struggling in Serie A. Arsenal, on the other hand, lead the Premier League table after winning the North London derby in some style on Saturday. The Gunners need to strengthen their midfield ranks further, and Locatelli showed at Sassuolo what a talent he is, so it's definitely a situation supporters will be keeping an eye on as January edges closer. European giants threaten Arsenal's move for Premier League midfielder. Arsenal has been a long-term admirer of Youri Tielemans, and as he approaches becoming a free agent, they have a unique chance to make him one of their players. However, he now has more suitors which they must battle to win the race for his signature. Tielemans has made himself one of the best players in his position in the Premier League. The reason he's not keen on signing an extension is that he believes he can play for a bigger club, and it's true, signing him as a free agent would be a smart piece of business for any club that wins the race for his signature. A report on Calcio Mercato has now revealed the race for his signature is heating up. It claims Juventus, Liverpool, and Real Madrid also want to add him to their squad. I will be uploading daily Arsenal news, so keep your eyes on the channel and don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate your support. Peace out.